Hey guys, this video is going to be extremely scuffed, okay? I wanted to make a video talking to the MCC Rising participants, giving some tips for like Sands of Time and stuff, but the problem is that I don't have much time. I've been really busy, and I do not have time to edit this like I would want. So instead, this is just going to be really scuffed and me just like running around this lobby here and talking to you about some of the things I've been thinking about when it comes to Sands lately, as well as just some like general things that might help some new participants. Keep in mind, I haven't ever played Sands of Time, so this is just as an observer who's watched a lot of VODs and who's a really big fan of Sands of Time. So take it with a grain of salt, but also it will probably be helpful to you. And as a viewer, if you just like Sands of Time as much as I do, then you can hear some of my thoughts and see what I think. But I wanted to start with something I'm hoping to see a lot more people do in the future. It's what I call the clock method. It's something I saw on Reddit and I tried to spread it around a bit more because I really liked the idea of it. And it's the fact that you can utilize, there's 11 tunnels, right? And then there's the Sphinx. And so what you do is you have all the tunnels have like a number, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 and stuff. And what I want to see, and if anyone wants to try this, please feel free to go ahead and use this. But I want to see people right off the bat assign tunnels to be like briefly explored so that you can label everything, okay? So just imagine this. So you're starting off, you already have someone assigned to do the red puzzle and the red path and find the blue key. And then I do have a strategy for gold key parkour and stuff, but I'm gonna save that for later because this isn't gonna help MCC Rising participant. That's getting a little bit too complicated. But let's just say you're starting out, okay? Now, using the clock method, let's say that you have whoever's getting the blue key, they're going to go under the timer, get the blue key, and then they're going to go and explore tunnels 1 and 2. Just briefly pop their head in and see what they are, okay? Then you're going to have another person do tunnels 3, 4, and 5. Then you're going to have, I'd say like red key runner or just like someone else do 6, 7, and 8. And then have the Sandkeeper do 9, 10, 11. Or something, right? So in that case, some order of that. It doesn't need to be exactly that, but basically you end up having people, maybe even have the Sandkeeper do like 4 tunnels or something. I don't know. Go crazy with it. Like, just assign them in such a way that based off your pathing, based off what your job is, it makes the most sense. So Sandkeeper, since they need to gather sand around the main area, it makes sense for them to go to like the farthest back wall and get some of those tunnels and stuff. And then as you're exploring them, it's your job to remember what those tunnels were that you explored. So if, let's say you explore tunnel 6 and that's blue path, you could be like, and blue path runners like exploring the stuff on the far end of the dungeon, right? You could be like, hey, I found blue path. And it's like, now you are in charge of remembering blue path, but also those other tunnels that you explored at the far end. Does that make sense? I think it's just a better way to make sure that you're not randomly running around and wasting time in the main room. I'll get back to that some more in a minute. But something like that, some sort of system like that, I think would be very useful. I'd like to see more people doing that because there's so many times where people are checking the same tunnels. And even to help with this, I wonder if like, if you find a parkour room, mark it with like a P, like draw a P with like carpet on the ground, you know? And if you find a puzzle room, do a U. Why? Because they both start with P. So that doesn't really work to have both with P, but like, I don't know, a U for puzzles, I don't know why it makes sense in my brain, but just having some consistent way of marking things. And then, of course, you could do, like, a line for the green vault or different things. But that way, as you're running around the room, like, if you're up high... here, let me get some elevation over here. So if you're, like, on the upper level or something, right, and you're looking out across, you could see, like, oh, there's a P over there. Okay, so that's a parkour. And it's just a lot easier to not waste time in the main room. Now, in relating to wasting time... Now, I'm not calling these people out, okay? This is just an observation I made from MCC33. But the Yellow Yaks, something that I didn't like about their Sands of Time run was how they called people back early. Like, once they found, I think it was like Shadoon found Blue Vault, and then Ollie was like, hey, like, you already explored it, you already got Blue Vault, like, come back, we need more sand. But the problem is that you get more sand by exploring. Does that make sense? I think a lot of people, especially when they first play Sands of Time, are very hyper aware of the sand timer and it running out. And that is a problem. That is something that is good to keep an eye on, but don't let it get in the way of you actually being able to get sand. Because if you're so worried about the sand timer that you're calling people back early to bring back sand just in case, you know, then you end up being able to explore for less time, and in the long run end up actually losing time and not being able to explore as much. It's something that will be easier to gauge once you've played more. But just try to keep in mind that, like, let's say it takes, if you're like briefly down a tunnel, like you've just barely entered it, it probably takes you about 30 seconds to get back. If you're about midway down a tunnel, probably about a minute, and at the most about a minute 30 to 2 minutes down a timer. So like the best thing to do would be, like, if you are out of sand as a sand keeper, sorry, I just ate food, I'm like, ugh, my throat. Anyway, as a sand keeper, if you've got all of your sand has just been put in, you could be like, hey, I have 2 minutes left, and if you know your runners are deep down a tunnel, then call one back. But if you have like 7 sand, like it, and they're deep down a tunnel, have them explore just a little bit longer. Like, you can call them back, but just keep in mind that you want people to be down paths getting sand, okay? That's why it's a bad idea to do those puzzles and parkours right off. And some people get lost and they just don't know what to do, so they just start doing that by default to just do something. But I think that's actually pretty harmful. If you don't have anything to do, find a tunnel that is not a puzzle or a parkour and get sand. That's gonna keep your team in longer and get you more coins, okay? Another thing to keep in mind, even if you've gotten the vault down a path like the yellow yaks did, that doesn't mean there aren't paths that you could still explore to get more sand, okay? So just keep in mind that even though you've gotten a vault, you can still get more sand by continuing to explore that vault path. Now, if you've explored the whole vault path, then yeah, go find a different path, whether that's another vault path that one of your teammates wants help exploring, or if that's just one of those like generic paths. Just find somewhere where you can get sand. Now, one thing, I mentioned this in my Sands of Time video, something about like leaving coins on the ground for the Sandkeeper. I didn't realize at the time that coins are split. So like, it is nice to leave coins in the main room for the Sandkeeper to pick up, so they're like, oh yeah, I got some coins, or the green vault or something, you know? But in the end, your whatever coins you get are gonna be like put back together and split up between the entire team. So don't worry too much about making sure that like so-and-so gets their vault or something. I think it's very cool if you can do that. If like the whole team can get a vault or something, like everyone on the team gets their own vault or something, that's epic. But if you're like pressed for time, like you've got 30 seconds left on the timer, and you need to hurry and get green vault and get out, and you're the closest one, don't worry about handing it off to the Sandkeeper or something. Just get it yourself. Because I'm sure, unless you're like more worried about fun than coins, then go ahead. But if you're worried about like placement and like getting in the top or something, then it is most important to like be efficient. That's what Sands of Time is, an efficiency game. It's about making sure you do things in the most efficient manner. And I had something to say about that. I know one thing I was gonna say, again, just as always, make sure you torch spawners, okay? That's always a good thing to do. You want to make sure that let's say you run into, I'll see if I can get a screenshot of it, but let's say you run into like an area where you've got a cracked wall, you've got a target on the ceiling, mob spawners behind the cracked walls. The most efficient thing to do in this case is to hurry and go through the cracked wall as soon as you come upon this area, and you're going to break it, torch the spawner, you're going to crit kill the mobs. If you need to practice critting monsters, you can do that, or if you already know how to do it, then chill, then you can do that. But if by doing that, you're gonna minimize the risk and danger. This place is so cool. You're gonna minimize the risk and danger from the mobs and be able to quickly eliminate the threat and be able to move on. Then once you like come out of that area, like I would honestly break one wall, go through, torch it, go to the other wall, break through, torch it, or whatever if there's a spawner on both sides, then kill the mobs. Unless they're skeletons, you might have to deal with those quicker, but the longer you leave the spawners unlit, the longer amount of time there is for monsters to spawn. So just make sure to torch those quickly. And I do think it's worth it in most cases to kill the mobs. You just don't want to end up dying. Like, just again, eliminate risks, eliminate any danger as quickly as possible. Now I'm probably gonna have to do a cut here because I need to remember, what was the other thing I was gonna say? I remember it. Okay, I've seen a couple of people do this. Some people get really like they come to a dead end. They're exploring their tunnel and they come to a dead end and they kind of panic. They're like, wait, that can't be the end. Or they say things like, dude, this blue path is crazy, or this red path is like insane. And even if your path is insane, even if it is crazy, don't panic if you come to a dead end. If you come to a dead end, that just means that there's other paths for you to explore, okay? You didn't miss something. You can double check, but don't sit there for 30 seconds being like, oh, dead end, okay, wait, isn't that really a dead end? Can I get through that? No, okay, but then like I already explored everything else, so like why isn't it? Like, don't do that, please. I understand that you're gonna be very stressed, okay? That's just the nature of MCC. You're gonna be excited to be there, you're going to be a little bit anxious, a little bit stressed and stuff, but breathe. Just breathe for me, okay? Can you do that for me? Can you breathe? Just breathe. And you'll be amazed that when you look at things calmly, you're going to be much more efficient and much faster. I've noticed this for myself when I play Valorant. And when it comes to aim, there's this thing called calm aim. So like when you're aiming at someone, sometimes I peek around a corner and it's like there's 5 guys there. And I panic and I shoot in between them all. And I'm like, and it's like time slows down and speeds up at the same time. And it's like I'm reacting purely off of instinct or something, right? But if I were to come around this corner and I'm just calm, like I'm not stressed or anything, I come around, I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of guys there. Closest one, bam, shoot him. Bam, shoot him, you know? And it's just, and not even like a flick bam, it's just like you slowly go. It seems slow to you, but it might be, when you watch it back, you'll notice it's quicker than you think, and you'll be able to get more done. So how does this apply to to Sands of Time? Well, when you come to a dead end or something, like you come over here and, oh, okay, well, this ends. That's okay. Block it off. Move on. There's probably another path. And once you've like completely finished a path, go back and you might find that the first room you were in had a side path. And you're like, oh, there's a side path here. Okay. And you go down it. So don't worry if you're like, oh, this vault path is just so big. Or if you're like, oh, I don't know where to go. It's okay. Backtrack. Look around. Look up. You're going to be able to find where you need to go. And I actually need to backtrack here because apparently there's not a way out of this unless I parkour. But yeah, other good things, just, you know, keep comms nice and clean. Make sure not to talk over each other. Your sandkeeper should probably be someone who's good at communicating and who's good at taking in lots of information and sifting out what's important. You don't want someone who hears, like, I found blue vault and I have 6 sand, and then like panic, be like, and like stutter. It's possible that there really isn't anyone on your team who is super good at communicating, and that's okay. Just choose whoever wants to do it, or whoever is most comfortable with it. I think another thing to keep in mind is just, like, if you have watched my complete guide to Sands of Time and every room in Sands of Time videos, first of all, thanks for doing that. That means a lot that you find my videos worthwhile enough to watch, and even this one. Thanks for watching this one. But even if you've watched those, the fact is that it's going to be your first time actually playing Sands of Time, so do not beat yourself up if you're not doing too well. Do not beat yourself up if you die, or whatever. Like, it's your first time. You can watch that every rooms video, and unless you've done a ton of VOD reviewing, and even then, even if you've done a ton of VOD reviewing, it's still going to be different. Like, you in front of your computer, you're controlling your person and you're exploring that. Like, it's gonna be completely different. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, again, just breathe and understand that's normal. Okay? That's totally fine. And just do your best. That's the best you can do. If you go into it having fun with an excitement for the fact that you get to play this game, honestly, lucky. Like, you're very lucky. I'm kind of envious. But but yes, the fact that you get to play, that's amazing. That's so cool. So enjoy it, okay? Enjoy the time. Like, personally, I find enjoyment in, like, making things really efficient or finding, like, the best way to do something. But there is such thing as an obsession. Don't obsess over it too much. Don't let this opportunity take over your life. Have fun, okay? Enjoy yourself. But yeah, I think that's about all. There's probably other things that I could think of, but a lot of the things that might be useful are just, like, in my general, like, guide for Sands of Time, because I made that for people that are new for the event. And this is just kind of adding up on top of that, as well as, like, adding on that strat using the clock method. I honestly think it's a really good method. And marking the tunnels and stuff. Like, you're gonna save a lot of time doing that. In theory, but who knows? Maybe it won't. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, if you're an MCC Rising participant and you watch this, thanks for taking the time to watch, or even if you're just a viewer of MCC, thanks for taking the time to watch. Hopefully this is a bit helpful. Sorry for the scuffedness. I promise I usually try to make better quality videos, but I really just, I cannot edit this in time before Rising, which is like next weekend or something. That's crazy. It's coming up so quick. But yeah, for MCC Rising participants, good luck. I wish you the best of luck. I'm very excited to watch your Sands of Time perspectives. If you're willing to let me, I'd love to. But if you don't want me to, then, I mean, I respect that. And yeah, good luck, guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.